You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
With us today is special guest Scott Klein. He is a community leader, rabbi, radio host, author, and educator, among many other titles. He wants to talk to us today about the importance of service and especially entrepreneurs who seem to struggle with that as well. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Chris, I am awesome. Highlight of my day and really great to connect about topics that I'm so passionate about, as you know.
Absolutely. You have an incredible list of accomplishments here, everything that you're involved in. Can you tell us more about your entrepreneurial journey, how you kind of like brought all this together and how you're helping others?
Absolutely. I have been involved in entrepreneurship for the past 10 years. I grew up in a entrepreneurial home. My dad, I credit him with that passion. He has been in accounting, but not sort of typical boring accounting. He's always run his own practice. And I like to joke that I broke many child labor laws as a kid because I was always involved in the family business. So I learned early on the importance of work ethic and getting out there and making a difference. Took a little bit of a detour from that, got very involved in community and ended up working for a couple of nonprofits, traveled around the world, went to school in Israel, Detroit, New York, worked in New York in nonprofit communication, which I loved and it was fun. But I wanted to get back to Chicago, or more specifically Skokie. Yeah, I know you're familiar as a fellow Midwesterner. And ended up when I came back to Chicago was in 2009. And many of your listeners will recall it was a tough economy in the middle of a recession. And I realized that a lot of people that I had met in the course of networking for a family business needed to meet each other. A realtor needs a photographer, a photographer needs a lawyer needs an accountant. It was just a matter of connecting the dots. So I ended up forming a nonprofit called Jewish B2B Networking, Jewish Business to Business Networking, which basically ended up over the course of a bunch of years, bringing together many tens of thousands of people around various workshops, events, programs that we sort of established as a grassroots community organization. And that led to a number of involvements in community as a whole. And you could define community as neighborhood, community, and a lot of different circumstances. And ended up being appointed to a bunch of commissions, which honestly just changed my life. I realized this bug that I had for service and specifically it started in the business community. Now I'm proud it's sort of expanded into a whole bunch of different directions from there. And I'm really passionate about it because I additionally love to encourage others. And I think that's why I'm here today.
I think you found your calling and your purpose here. Incredible journey. I appreciate you sharing that. And it kind of just shows you've found problems that needed solving and you're willing to give back and just connect the dots and make that happen and bring it all together. And good news is child labor laws may not apply to family members. In addition, the statute of limitations may have you covered. So you can rest easy now.
Goodness, Fred, I'm glad to hear it. And I don't want to get my dad in trouble. And it's fun. I love family businesses. It's great. I'm glad I stepped back from the family business and knowing entrepreneurs, knowing when to jump at an opportunity, but also know when to pull back from an opportunity and being able to regulate that is really a tough skill. And I don't think any of us really get it right all the time, but sometimes you need to kind of be impulsive and you need to feel things and establish connections. But that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. I know your listeners know a lot about that.
Absolutely. It's a scary yet fulfilling type of journey that we're on, building these relationships, trying new things, getting out of our comfort zone. And when we finally make it, get some financial stability, we're looking for the next thing, whether that's a business opportunity or potentially giving back. All the time in marketing, they say to give value. And yes, we can give value to other businesses, but how do we as entrepreneurs give back even more to pay it forward?
So true. And I know I started alluding to this earlier. I ended up getting a master's in nonprofit management because I discovered this passion that I had in the good work that community organizations do all over the country and frankly, all over the world. And I started seeing examples of social entrepreneurship. For me, what that means is people taking the sort of spirit of entrepreneurial visioning and being able to come up with an idea and find creative ways to especially network and build relationships to make things happen, but really not for the benefit of their own pocketbook, but for the purposes of pouring it back in. all of those things, I discovered a lot of just common themes between what I had learned as a very young child in a family business and the sort of principles hold true, frankly, regardless of what line of work you're in. It really makes a difference. And I also discovered the value of getting involved and how it can actually help your business as well. And that's not why people should get involved in community organizations. I should be clear. Do it because you're passionate about that cause. There's a lot of side benefits. You get involved in volunteering for an animal rescue because you love dogs or cats, and you will meet like minded people that share a similar passion that possibly you would have never have had the opportunity to meet. And that sounds like a true win. Can't think of anything better, right, Chris?
That sounds fantastic. Doing something that you're passionate about, giving back to people, and making some great connections in the meantime. It's very true. You never know where you might stumble upon someone, whether a volunteer opportunity or just in real life at the gas station or anywhere. You can meet people and be able to have an impact on them and kind of give back and share more about each other. I had a chance to work in nonprofit work. It was a home care and hospice company. I was able to schedule for the Meals on Wheels program for our local community, which was really cool. We had a team of probably 35 volunteers who used their own car, who would come package these meals and deliver to people's houses Monday through Friday. And I thought it was such an incredible thing that most of them were either business owners or semi retired. They were looking for a higher calling, some way to give back. And it's so incredible to see simply by asking someone if they'd be willing to pick up a shift or can you volunteer. Sometimes that's all you need to get someone to even consider wanting to give back. How do we ask more business owners to get involved, to give back? Do we need to kind of wave the carrot on the stick of saying you can make more powerful business relationships? How can we motivate them to do better?
I'm a big advocate for introducing the opportunities to folks. I think a lot of entrepreneurs stuck in this little bubble, this cycle that I don't know where folks may have learned it. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. I think a lot of it is just instinctual, but I'm a believer in platforms exactly like this, talking about these sort of opportunities and introducing it as an idea of networking with your local chamber of commerce. Rethink the model. Think about how you can network in other ways as well. And that's not to take away in any way from a chamber of commerce or from the stereotypical networking groups. I know because I started one that they really work well. And by the way, the same is true for professionals. If you work for a Fortune 500 company, there's something that get those endorphins firing. You'll feel really good after a busy week if you spend time on a Saturday or Sunday getting involved and building relationship, because we all end up in this little routine of life. We work our job, we do our things, we find what works for us, but there's so much value in building your personal and your professional network through community service. And the opportunities are endless, Chris. I mean, there's so many things. I mentioned the animal rescue earlier as just an example. I chair the Village of Skokie's Economic Development Commission, where I was fortunate to meet and serve alongside the president of the local hospital, the senior vice president of a large mall company, people that I would otherwise never have had the opportunity to meet. And we were all coming together around a similar passion and purpose, which was great. Those things, fast forward, led to other opportunities as well. I could directly point to those things that led me to some professional opportunities. And now, as you and I discussed a little bit offline, I'm privileged to serve in the US Army. And it's something that I would have never thought was called a midlife crisis. And that as well has opened up other doors. I'm really passionate, as you could tell, Chris, about people sort of stretching their rubber band, going beyond their usual limits and making a difference in your local community, but in the world at large. And I think if there's anything that post COVID people need more of is thinking beyond just what's around you and thinking beyond your comfort zone. Because I think a lot of us have been sort of stuck within our little social circle for a little while. And we've discovered that the world is a big place And we can do more and we need to do more. The world has too much negativity going on. We can all contribute to something better if we all step up and challenge ourselves a little bit too.
Absolutely. It can be very uncomfortable to get out of that comfort zone. It's what we know, it's what we're used to. But to take it one step further, yes, after COVID, we definitely felt this shift in the way that we get together with our community, the way we have conversations or have get togethers, and that shift change. But I agree 100% that it's not just for business owners that can benefit from increasing your network. These other opportunities come about, even for me personally with the podcasting and joining some Facebook groups. I'm meeting like minded people. We're sharing tips and tricks with each other. We talk about the tools that we're using. And even though it may not be a direct cash money benefit into my pocket, these are great relationships to be building. They taught me knowledge, and that can produce dividends from that. So just building that network highlights the benefit of that, not just for business owners, but for everybody who wants to expand themselves. And I think now more than ever, people need to get out of the house and do a little bit something that we used to do 5 years ago, give back, socialize, and kind of pay it forward to others. It feels good.
It really does. And I know you've got a great platform here with the podcast. I've been fortunate. It's been a long time now. I can't believe it's been about 11 years that I've hosted a radio show in Chicago. That's how it started, was just on the radio, called Get Down to Business. Obviously, thanks to the world of podcasting, I now have it airing on a whole bunch of different platforms, including internet radio reach across America, which is sort of a veterans platform. And of course, wherever podcasts can be found. Before we jumped on, you asked me about what sort of businesses and services am I providing. And the fun part about what I'm doing now in this sort of stage, and we all morph and develop and evolve and innovate. What I'm doing right now is able to help spread other people messages. And that's what I've been doing now for about 11 years. The show, it's called Get Down to Business, which is also the name of the book that I wrote. And it's really about how you can make it happen. Just don't keep dreaming. There's a time and a place for the dreaming. Get up, and if you have an idea, go make it happen. I know so many business owners that spend so much time drafting a business plan and budgeting and planning and speaking to mentors. All of that is good, but at some point, got to get down to business. And I talk to people each and every week that are stepping up and coming up with the most amazing ideas. And the common theme behind the most successful people that I know are that they are willing to take risks. And for me and on my show, I don't care how much folks are making financially, how many employees you have. If you're willing to be transparent and talk about your failures, your challenges, that's part of getting to success. And I'm having the time of my life. It's been great. And met some of the most amazing people.
I love that you use your platform to help others. And it's just this mindset of giving back and helping others. Same here. The guests could have any sort of revenue or employee count. I'm just happy to have the conversation and then highlight their journey and their offer and just meet more people. It's really great to do that. And I agree with the planning versus execution piece. That's where most people fail, is that they're so stuck in the planning. Just one more book, one more YouTube video, and then I can take action. But there's so much knowledge that we can gain through experience that we just need to take action. We're going to stumble. We're going to have some failures along the way. But that's what we usually see from entrepreneurs, is just their successes. They don't see the pile of failures behind them. We all have them, but it's just that struggle through the journey and willingness to get back onto the horse after we've fallen off. It's a tough journey though.
It is. And you've got a great platform. I've been listening to a bunch of your past guests on the program, and there's definitely a theme that's there. And it's funny, going back to the Army piece of things, I never, as a kid, ever thought about joining the Army. I've always been extremely patriotic. July 4th is my favorite day of the year. I've been involved in organizing parades. It just never crossed my mind. If you were to ask kids that I went to school with, who would be the least likely person to join the Army, it would be this guy. And it's funny how life takes twists and turns. And I never thought that it would be possible for me to serve in the 82nd Airborne Division and to do the kinds of things that I do these days. But it's awesome. And I just encourage all of your listeners to dream big and find a way to pay it forward, to make a difference in other people's lives as well. And you don't need to put a uniform on. Everybody has the things that they're capable of doing. If you've got the idea, go ahead and do it. And please don't just focus on yourself. Please find a way to teach somebody else to help them get down to business.
I love it. If only more people kept that mantra for themselves to pay it forward and give back to others, the world would be a much nicer place. I feel like it would just be like this utopia of just happiness and sunshine, which would be great. But the more we can continue to inspire others to do that, I think it'll have a ripple effect. It'll snowball. And eventually we're just going to see a bunch of people paying it forward, helping each other out. So the fact that you've dedicated your life to and willing to risk and challenge your comfort zone, that's a challenge in on its own. You've done so much, you're doing so much more. What are you excited for to wrap up 2024? You're hitting a lot of your goals here, you're living through them. What are you most excited for to wrap up 2024?
As you mentioned in my bio, that I am a rabbi. So I believe the 13th Jewish chaplain in the United States Army. And that gives me the opportunity to take care of America's finest young men and women. And on the largest Army base, Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I'm settling into my new role, building relationships. But truly, my biggest goal is inspiring others and encouraging people and motivating people to step up and serve. And I just want to sort of put a finer point on that. There's so many folks that are, call it younger, that are in high school, maybe in college, and they're figuring out what to do. And we need to help. So my message to those of us that are a little bit more established in our careers goes back to that point that I've been making, is pay it forward. But if there's one thing, not to get political, that I'm really passionate about, is that idea of service. And that same message that I mentioned to entrepreneurs, I would encourage some young folks as well to get involved and build those mentorship type relationships, seek out advice from other folks. And there are political candidates that have advocated, and I'm a big believer of a mandatory year of service. I've spent some time in Israel. It's called Sheirut Lomi, which is sort of national service. And I know that folks have advocated for that. And frankly, I think we can do better as a society if we encourage people stepping up and taking that year, maybe after high school, to serve as a way of figuring yourself out. In some cases, I'm a big believer in the military is a great opportunity for many folks to get their education. No reason to get into debt. There's a lot of benefits and opportunities, but that's not for everybody. And that's okay. I'm not encouraging everybody to join the military, but find your calling, find your way to serve, give back. And I promise you, you're going to be a better person for it.
I love that. And it's important for people to know that just because you choose one direction, you can figure things out and pivot later on. It doesn't have to be something you'll do for the next 40 to 50 years, stuck in one industry or job position. Things change, you evolve, you change. You can find what, drives you and gives you purpose and reason to wake up every day and say, I really like going to this job or this mission. If there was a piece of advice that you could share with your younger self, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, don't let anybody say no, and constantly challenge the status quo. If you were to tell me a bunch of years ago that I'd be doing the things that I'm doing right now, I would have thought you were absolutely crazy. And I just would encourage everybody, dream big, seek mentors that can guide you, and then flip that, provide mentorship to others and help others achieve their goals. Our success in life is not what we do tactically. They teach us this in the Army. It's not what we're doing ourselves. It's actually what we're able to accomplish strategically, meaning that we are actually setting up others that are accomplishing more things. That's a force multiplier, if there ever was one, that all of a sudden, instead of just you establishing a business, if you are able to establish more people, establish their own companies, organizations, think of the dollars and cents, think about the people that have been employed. That's the most important thing. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody, a LinkedIn message. That's actually how you and I connected, which I think is absolutely awesome. But don't be afraid to do that. We're all just people after all. And then when somebody does that to you, please don't keep them waiting. You never know who's going to be the next Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg. And you providing a little bit of that advice and a little bit of your time, you have no idea the impact that that can make.
I can't tell you how my life would be different had I not some mentors, people who believed in me, provided me opportunity to kind of like guide me and coach me a bit and then take me further along in my journey. And that was my mantra too, was just how nice people were with their time and their knowledge, sharing that with me. I wanted to pay that forward. And we continually to level up, share our own experiences, and then get to pay that forward with others, which is a great opportunity. For those who are interested in getting in touch with Scott, where should they connect with you?
Yeah. So my website is syklein.com. That's where I have an archive of my 11 years of shows. And very easy to get a hold of, sk@syklein.com via email. And of course, it's all over on LinkedIn. But my podcast, my show is wherever shows can be found. Just search for Get Down to Business. We have a very large archive. And the nice thing about the show is you don't hear a lot of me talking. You hear a lot of amazing guests. And usually on the average 1 hour show, I am bringing on 4 guests. So over the course of 11 years, we have had quite literally thousands of people that have shared their expertise with our listeners. And chances are, if you are struggling with something, somebody else has been there and done that, and you can learn from their lessons. So get in touch with me. I'm happy to share anything that I have at my fingertips with anybody that's tuning in. And again, Chris, I'm just so grateful to share some of these lessons with others. And thank you for what you do in creating this platform.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. And it's quite an honor to speak with such incredible people who are taking risks, people who are challenging the status quo. We wouldn't have a lot of innovation we have today if it weren't for people thinking outside the box, being a little bit rebellious, going against the grain here and there, and then eventually teaching those practices to others. So we appreciate all the work that you do. And we'll also have the links available down in the description and show notes for those who want to get in touch with Scott. Scott, we appreciate you taking the time and sharing your tips and wisdom and your message with us and our audience here. Keep up the great work. So excited to watch you grow and can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a great day. Take care.
You as well. Thanks so much.